The road to my uncle's cabin stretched endlessly through towering pines, the sun dipping low and spilling golden light across the asphalt. I sat in the passenger seat beside Ethan, my cousin, pretending to scroll through my phone while my mind was entirely elsewhere. For years, we'd been close, too close, maybe, but something about this trip felt different. There was a tension I couldn't ignore, a small spark that I didn't fully understand. Ethan laughed at some joke my uncle told from the driver's seat, and I caught the way his eyes crinkled at the corners, that effortless charm he had always carried. It made my chest tighten in a way I couldn't explain, and I quickly looked away, pretending to check the map. I couldn't let him notice my gaze. We'd shared bedrooms at family gatherings before, of course, but something about this weekend felt charged, like the air itself had shifted. When we finally arrived at the cabin, the forest around it was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of silence that made you hyper-aware of every footstep, every creak of the wooden floor. Our parents immediately began unpacking, leaving Ethan and me to claim the small loft bedroom at the top of the cabin. The room had 2 twin beds, just like in childhood, but only one bed would be used that night. I didn't know if it was because the loft was cramped or if it was coincidence, but Ethan casually shrugged and said, "Guess we'll share tonight." "It's fine." I nodded, forcing a casual smile, though my heart thudded uncomfortably. I told myself it was just a bed, nothing more, but as he pulled back the covers, the proximity felt different. I sat down first, pretending to adjust my blanket, stealing glances at him without looking obvious. Ethan lounged across from me, unbothered, chatting about the hike planned for the next day, but his voice had a softness I hadn't noticed before, an almost intimate undertone. As night fell, the cabin's single lamp cast shadows across the room. The gentle hum of the forest outside created a quiet intimacy, the kind you feel when there's only one other person who knows the space you occupy. I found myself watching Ethan more than I should, noticing how he brushed his hair back or how his shoulder leaned slightly toward mine when he laughed. Every movement, every casual word, seemed to pull me in, leaving me both exhilarated and guilty. That we talked quietly as the house settled into sleep around us. Stories from our childhood came up, funny misadventures and shared secrets, but the conversation carried a weight now. A subtle awareness lingered, the unspoken knowledge that things between us were no longer the same. Ethan's hand brushed mine as he reached for a pillow, and a jolt ran through me. I froze, not sure if he felt it too or if it was all in my head. Eventually, the room grew still. Our parents' voices drifted off in the distance, leaving only the sound of our own breathing and the occasional rustle of the sheets. I lay on my side, pretending to sleep, but my thoughts were anything but quiet. Something had shifted tonight, though I couldn't put it into words. There was a closeness now, a tension that both thrilled and terrified me. I didn't know what would come of it, only that nothing would ever feel exactly the same again. As I drifted toward sleep, I caught a glimpse of Ethan's face in the dim light. His expression was unreadable, yet for a moment, it seemed like he understood exactly what I was feeling. And in that quiet, unspoken instant, I realized that this night, this one shared bed, would be remembered, whether we were ready for it or not. The night stretched on, heavy and quiet, though I was far from asleep. The faint creak of the cabin settling under the weight of darkness seemed louder in the stillness. I lay on the edge of the bed, every sound from Ethan's side amplified, the slight rustle of sheets, the soft exhale as he shifted, the subtle warmth of his presence just inches away. My mind raced, replaying moments from earlier, trying to make sense of the strange tension between us. Ethan murmured something in his sleep, half-lost words that made my heart skip. I caught a glimpse of him, relaxed and unaware, and a surge of conflicting emotions hit me: curiosity, desire, fear, and something that felt like longing. I turned onto my side, careful not to wake him, yet instinctively leaning a little closer. There was a pull I couldn't ignore, a silent acknowledgement that the night had changed us in ways neither of us could yet name. Hours passed in this unspoken tension. My thoughts wandered to how long I had been noticing him, his laugh, the way he listened, the comfort he brought without even trying. Now, in the quiet of the night, I realized that these feelings were not fleeting. They were real, undeniable, and terrifying. I tried to shake them off, telling myself it was just the closeness of sharing a bed, nothing more, but the warmth radiating from Ethan's side made that impossible. Then, almost imperceptibly, he shifted closer. It wasn't intentional, not fully conscious, but the movement sent a jolt through me. Our shoulders brushed lightly, a touch so small yet electric. I froze, my mind a swirl of panic and exhilaration. Part of me wanted to retreat, to put distance between us and pretend nothing was happening, but another part, the louder, more insistent part, wanted to stay, to feel the connection. That we started talking softly, almost in whispers, though I couldn't remember who began. Words tumbled out, stories from childhood, regrets, hopes for the future. Each confession made the room feel smaller, more intimate. Ethan's voice, gentle and attentive, seemed to reach parts of me I didn't know existed. And in turn, I found myself sharing things I had never said to anyone else. There was trust here, a vulnerability that neither of us had acknowledged before. That I realized that the bed was no longer just a place to sleep, it had become a stage for honesty, for emotions too long suppressed. The accidental touches continued, subtle, our knees brushing, our hands nearly touching. Every contact carried weight, every glance seemed charged with meaning. I wasn't sure if Ethan felt it too or if it was only my imagination, but the air between us had shifted, thick with unspoken understanding. That my thoughts spiraled. Was this wrong? Could I ever tell anyone? The fear of being judged gnawed at me, but it was matched by a curiosity that refused to be silenced. Ethan, laughing softly at some memory, glanced toward me in the dim light, and I thought I saw recognition there, a reflection of my own feelings mirrored in his eyes. My pulse quickened. I didn't know if it was excitement, fear, or both. Eventually, sleep claimed us, though not before a moment of awareness lingered. Our closeness hadn't faded, it had settled into the quiet rhythm of breathing side by side. In the dark, I felt a subtle acknowledgement pass between us, a shared understanding without words. It was fleeting, almost imperceptible, but it left an impression that would not be forgotten. As dawn approached, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, processing everything that had transpired. The room was still, Ethan's presence comforting yet undeniably charged with something new. I understood, for the first time, that nothing between us could ever go back to the way it was before this night. And with that realization came both fear and an unexpected thrill, an anticipation of what might come next. Morning light filtered through the tent's thin fabric, casting soft patterns over Ethan's face. He blinked against the brightness, disoriented, before realizing Daniel was already awake. Daniel sat near the opening, sipping coffee from a tin cup, his posture relaxed yet alert. For a moment, Ethan only watched him, struck by the quiet composure that seemed so foreign compared to his father's restless energy. When Ethan finally stirred, Daniel glanced over. "Sleep all right?" His tone was casual, but his eyes lingered just long enough to unsettle Ethan. Yes, Ethan lied, though his restless night had been anything but restful. Outside, his father was already busying himself with breakfast. He cracked jokes as he worked, cheerful and unaware. Ethan tried to match the energy, yet he couldn't shake the memory of Daniel's calm voice from the night before. Even the simple act of sitting beside him at the fire felt charged, as though an invisible thread tethered them together. Later that day, the three set off on a hike. The trail wound through dense undergrowth, sunlight slipping between branches. His father forged ahead, energized by nostalgia for old camping trips, while Ethan lagged slightly behind with Daniel. The arrangement felt natural, unplanned, yet somehow inevitable. Daniel broke the silence first. "Your father talks about you often. He's proud, you know." Ethan gave a small laugh. "He has a funny way of showing it." "What do you mean?" Daniel's question wasn't casual, it was weighted, an invitation to be honest. Ethan hesitated, then sighed. "He expects me to be someone I'm not sure I can be. Someone louder, stronger, more certain. I don't think he understands that." Daniel nodded, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. "Fathers rarely do. They see reflections of themselves instead of the person in front of them." The words hit Ethan harder than he expected. For the first time, he felt truly understood, and that realization unsettled him. He glanced sideways at Daniel, catching a flicker of sadness in his expression, as if he too carried burdens he seldom voiced. By the time they returned to camp, clouds had gathered, turning the sky gray. The air grew heavy, and soon rain forced them to retreat into shelter. His father disappeared into his own tent with a muttered complaint, leaving Ethan once again with Daniel. Inside, the space felt smaller than before, their proximity unavoidable. The rain drummed relentlessly overhead, drowning out every sound except their voices. Daniel leaned back, speaking quietly. "I used to love storms. They reminded me that even the strongest structures could bend without breaking." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's poetic for camping talk." Daniel chuckled, but the sound faded quickly. His tone shifted, lower, more vulnerable. "Truth is, I've been through my share of storms lately. The divorce, losing my sense of who I was supposed to be." Ethan listened, captivated. He wasn't accustomed to adults speaking so openly, especially not men of Daniel's age. There was strength in his honesty, but also fragility. Ethan felt drawn to it, as though Daniel's words unlocked something dormant inside him. Their conversation wandered from love to honesty, from fear to hope. The lantern flickered between them, shadows shifting across their faces. Each sentence seemed to erase distance, leaving only the silence that followed. At one point, Ethan shifted, his hand brushing against Daniel's by accident. He pulled back instantly, but Daniel didn't move. Instead, his hand remained where it was, steady and warm, bridging the gap. Neither spoke. The rain hammered down, a curtain around them. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, torn between retreat and surrender. The touch was subtle, nothing overt, yet it carried weight far greater than its simplicity. It was a choice, an acknowledgement, a dangerous step across an invisible boundary. When Ethan finally glanced up, Daniel's eyes met his. There was no demand in them, no force, only a quiet understanding. Ethan looked away quickly, his breath uneven, the silence stretched. Then Daniel withdrew his hand slowly, as though careful not to startle the fragile balance they had created. "Get some rest," Daniel murmured, echoing his words from the night before. Ethan lay back, his body rigid with the awareness of what had just happened. He closed his eyes, though sleep eluded him. Every nerve seemed alive, carrying the weight of guilt, fear, and something dangerously close to longing. That he knew without question that a line had been crossed. As the rain finally softened to a drizzle, Ethan realized he would carry that moment with him, no matter what happened next.